airstrip was pure excitement. Over 30 years of ingenuity, hard work, and boldness led up to this moment. The history of Embraer began in the 1940s with a group of aviation pioneers. They convinced the government that developing a Brazilian aviation industry would strengthen the country's military and become a driving force towards modernization. In 1969, with a plan to build an aircraft called the Bandeirante, which is Portuguese for pioneer, the government of Brazil officially gave birth to Embraer. After an initial sale to the Brazilian Air Force, Embraer soon looked for Bandeirante customers beyond its borders. In 1977, France's Air Littoral was the first foreign commercial airline to make a purchase. The Bandeirante's reputation as a sturdy and reliable aircraft drove both civilian and military sales in 36 countries for nearly 2 decades. Now, Embraer has customers across 5 continents. Listed on the New York Stock Exchange, its dedicated employees comprise one of the largest commercial aircraft workforces in the world, with manufacturing facilities and offices in Brazil, China, France, Portugal, Singapore, and the United States. Today, North America is Embraer's largest market, but it grew out of humble beginnings. Its first customer was Robert Terry, an American investor who founded Mountain West Airlines. With the purchase of 3 Bandeirantes, he created a new company called Aero Industries, which became the U.S.'s exclusive distributor and customer support provider. With this purchase, the FAA certified the Bandeirante in 1978, the same year that President Jimmy Carter signed the Airline Deregulation Act, a change that transformed the airline industry into a gold rush.
They were characters, and they would start up an airline and start flying between 2 places, and even if it didn't make economic sense, they were doing what they liked to do.
With this explosion of new airlines forming, there were not enough of the right type of planes to fill the booming demand. Embraer's timing with the Bandeirante could not have been better.
It was the best thing out there, and that the people that were buying them were in fact making money with them.
By October 1979, Embraer had established a U.S. subsidiary in Dania, Florida, creating a factory-direct infrastructure to support the booming U.S. regional market. It was called Embraer Aircraft Corporation, EAC, and was headed by Newton Berwig, a Brazilian who served in the U.S. Air Force and later worked for Piper Aircraft.
We worked as a team. There was no America and no Brazil. I mean, we were all part of one team, and that sounds corny, I know, but that was the real strength of Embraer, was the people running the company, this heart that you don't find in many American companies. And so because we were able to do it, I always say we called the Bandeirante the pioneers, you know, it was a pioneer kind of airplane. Well, we had that pioneer spirit.
Embraer's presence in the United States grew rapidly, and through Newton Berwig's relationship with Red Aircraft, a local fixed-base operator, Embraer signed a land lease at the Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport.
Bringing an aviation manufacturing concern to Fort Lauderdale in the early 1980s was something that no one had anticipated at that point.
The Fort Lauderdale team did exactly what they had to do: establish credibility and competence in sales, product support, and training. The Brasilia, Embraer's first product developed specifically to comply with FAA certification requirements, was a pressurized aircraft that set a new standard of speed, comfort, and efficiency for the regional airlines. The rollout and first flight of the Brasilia occurred at Embraer's headquarters in July of 1983. EAC chartered a DC-10 and invited many employees from its U.S. operation, the commuter airlines, industry press, and aircraft financiers to Brazil to participate in the rollout ceremony, integrating the groups into one big Embraer family, a philosophy which remains to this day.
Once the employees that were here in the States got a chance to see the factory and the size of the factory, and to see the airplanes in the production line, and to see the Brasilia fly, that went a long ways to ensure that, you know, you really had the dedication of all those employees for life.
In 1985, 1 month after FAA certification, Atlantic Southeast Airlines put the first Brasilia into service.
I think our biggest challenge as Embraer transitioned from the BANDEIRANTE into the Brasilia program was to assure that we had the systems, services, and support structure in place to transition from a telex environment into a highly technical, complex systems environment.
Additionally, Embraer's U.S. operations had to be expanded. A Brasilia training facility was built and the warehouse enlarged for product support. Brasilia became the backbone of regional aviation. It fueled the growth and success of many commuter airlines and set the stage for another bold innovation from Embraer. In 1989, development started on a 50-seat regional jet, the ERJ-145, with operating costs very similar to that of a turboprop. But while the will and skill were there to launch the commuter airline market into the future, financing would be another story. By 1990, the company had slid into a deep financial crisis.
The financial hardships that the company faced in the early 90s that were really made worse by an economic crisis that was developing in certain sectors of the world at the time. It made it necessary to take steps to assure the continuity of Embraer. And the fastest way to get to that goal was to transfer the company to the private sector.
Privatization occurred in December of 1994, with new management and a bold plan to recover the company. A key component was the production and entry into service of the ERJ-145.
So I knew that we had a lot of talented people. What we didn't have was capital to fund the company to build the ERJ-145 and go forward. We needed backlog to keep the factory running. So that was number one. And number two, but very closely to that, was to convince everybody in Fort Lauderdale that they were critically important to the success of Embraer.
August 18, 1995 saw the commercial rollout of the ERJ-145, and Continental Express became the launch customer. Up until the new millennium, there was always a clear distinction in the industry between commuter and regional airlines and mainline airlines. Embraer took the bold step of investing in a clean sheet design for a plane bigger than the ERJ-145, the Embraer 170, first introduced in 2001 as a 70-seat platform. 3 derivative models were introduced with seating capacity up to 120.
The E-Jets meet the needs of all 3 airline models: regional, low-cost, and traditional mainline carriers. They became the answer to right-sizing, and they are also used to increase connectivity and to replace smaller regional jets.
U.S. Airways became the launch customer in the U.S. Then, just 2 months later, JetBlue purchased the Embraer 190 because they considered it ideal for developing new routes between small U.S. cities. In 2013, Embraer announced the development of its second-generation E-Jet, the E-Jet E2, planned for entry into service in 2018. Adding executive jets to Embraer's portfolio of defense and commercial aircraft was a key strategy for the company. Thus, in 2000, Embraer announced its first business aircraft, the Legacy 600, based on the ERJ-135. The success of the Legacy 600 paved the way for 2 new clean sheet designs, the entry-level Phenom 100 and the light Phenom 300. The launch of the 2 new jets was followed quickly by a global investment in product support facilities to ensure the service infrastructure was in place before the first Phenom was even delivered. There are 3 Embraer executive jet service centers in the U.S., strategically placed in Mesa, Arizona, Windsor Locks, Connecticut, and Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
It's critical to our customers that they be able to have their aircraft serviced and that they have the confidence that the manufacturer is standing behind them.
To further the growth of the product portfolio, The ultra-large Lineage 1000 was announced in 2008, followed by the development of the mid-light Legacy 450 and mid-size Legacy 500, the first aircraft in their categories to offer full fly-by-wire technology for increased comfort, efficiency, and safety. Finally, in an effort to be closer to the customer, Embraer announced it was moving the global headquarters of Embraer Executive Jets to the United States. In 2008, the company broke ground on a final assembly facility and Executive Jet Customer Center in Melbourne, Florida.
First Phenom 100 assembled in Melbourne flew on December 5th, 2011, and our first Phenom 300 flew exactly 1 year later, both with 0 anomalies. These accomplishments are a true testament to the talent of the employees working together here at Embraer in Melbourne.
Now, customers travel to Melbourne, Florida from around the world to work with our renowned design staff and customize their aircraft. Once we've completed their aircraft to their exact specifications, the customers return to Melbourne to participate in our world-class delivery process. It is a very special moment for our customers and for us.
The company's growing foothold in Melbourne, Florida was further advanced in 2012 when Embraer announced the Embraer Engineering and Technology Center USA.
Utilizing state-of-the-art technology, softwares, and materials testing laboratories, added to our already world-class engineering capacity in Brazil, the Embraer Engineering Technology Center is using the immense local talent available on the Space Coast to develop advanced design projects for all of Embraer's business units.
Following the success of its commercial and executive aircraft in the U.S., Embraer furthered its evolution as a global player with a U.S. Air Force contract. The Air Force chose the Sierra Nevada Embraer Defense and Security Team to provide the A-29 Super Tucano for its light air support program, and the aircraft are being assembled at a facility in Jacksonville, Florida.
Establishing this first production facility in the United States at the Jacksonville location for the LES program creates an important presence for the Embraer Defense and Security in this market. Our successful launch of the program will position us well for future growth with the intention of servicing many military customers.
From its first sale to Aero Industries, to earning the loyalty of commercial, executive, and defense customers, Embraer has seen its share of success. But the company never lets sales outpace service and customer satisfaction. Embraer's ever-growing worldwide network of maintenance, service, and parts distribution centers are critical to its future success. The company added to its infrastructure with the purchase of a facility in Nashville, Embraer Aircraft Maintenance Services. A product support operation was opened in Minneapolis to provide turnkey spare parts support for its commercial products. Then, in 2008, Embraer partnered with UPS to operate a distribution center in Louisville that provides parts for its executive jets. From the initial pioneers in Dania, Florida, Embraer's North American operations have grown exponentially into a family of employees dedicated to excellence. Throughout its history, Embraer has boldly led the way. Its long-lasting industry leadership and ongoing record of innovation stem directly from the dedication of its employees, those who make us fly. With their support, Embraer remains on course to create a sustainable future that is every bit as groundbreaking and glorious as its past.